My best friend and I got pulled into a redemption novel. He was assigned to redeem a fallen villainess, and I was in charge of a reclusive physics genius. Just as our missions were about to be completed, the male lead showed up, and overnight, all progress was reset to zero. My buddy came to me and said, "Screw this. Want to go home?" I said, "If you go, I go." Later, we died and exited the world, cashed in our bonus, and went off to party like kings. A year later, the system suddenly came back from the dead. Detected male lead death. Targets used unauthorized methods. Hosts will be forcibly recalled. Teleportation in 3 seconds. My friend and I were like, huh? 3 seconds later, with our arms around two gorgeous girls, we dropped straight into the presence of two completely blackened women. The villainess tied up my buddy's hands and said, "You're not going anywhere, ever." Meanwhile, the gloomy genius girl shut down the system for good. You too, sweetheart. We spent 3 years in that world. One of us turned the once doomed villainess into a beloved pop idol. The other helped the introverted physics prodigy rise to tech mogul status. On the eve of hitting 100% affection and earning our stay in that world, the male lead reappeared. Overnight, every bit of progress was wiped out. 3 years of work gone in a flash. That night, the Capitol lit up with brilliant blue fireworks, exploding like a sky full of stars. "Bet that one's from Jessica Miller," said my buddy Jason Smith, sitting on the bridge railing, buzzed on some cheap liquor. "Told her blue fireworks were for confessing your love. And she went and gave them to someone else." Then he asked, "Why didn't your Jennifer Delaney light any?" "Hands stuffed in my pockets," I muttered. "I blocked her." Who the hell knows? The system's alarm had been ringing in our heads all night, warning us the mission was about to fail. In 1 hour, it'd force us back to reality. After 3 years in this strange world, the thought of returning to soul-crushing 8 a.m. classes again had Jason and me feeling more than a little bitter. Just then, a ringtone shattered the night. Jessica was calling Jason. Jason picked up without hesitation. "Jessica, at least you still have a conscience." "Are you Jason?" came a man's arrogant voice. "And you are?" "I'm Kyle Anderson. Jessica's in the shower. Got something to say to you alone." Kyle's tone was casual and cocky. "I accidentally knocked over your couple photo earlier." "Yeah, I meant to. Now that I'm back, there's no reason for that thing to be on the wall." A breathy moan came from the other end. "Kyle, baby, not anymore, please," Jason blurted out. "Are you two seriously getting it on right now?" A different voice answered. For the first time ever, Jessica, who used to call Jason Big Bro every sentence, spoke to him in an icy voice. "Don't you dare yell at Kyle!" I had seen firsthand how much Jason sacrificed for her. Back when Jessica barely had food or clothes, Jason was working 8 jobs a day to support her. When she finally made it big and went on a national tour, Jason finally let himself breathe. And now, Jessica dared to talk to him like that. Jason gave a cold laugh. "Jessica, I told you you were my mission target. If I fail, I disappear from this world." "Fine. Then disappear." Her voice turned sugary again. The usual fake pout. "I never asked you to redeem me." As the screen went dark, Jessica hung up. Wind rustled the reeds around us. Jason climbed down from the bridge without a word. "Screw this. Let's go home?" I said, "If you go, I go." The system had already picked our way out. Car crash. Quick, clean, no pain, like a final thrill before returning to reality. But a moment later, the system went silent. "Hosts! I'm experiencing connectivity issues. Can I switch it to terminal cancer instead?" Jason and I sat in silence for a long moment. "Are you out of your damn mind?" Before we arrived, Jason and I had already picked our grave plot's prime real estate, center spots, surrounded by 8 big-eyed cuties. On the way out, though, Jason got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I with stomach cancer. The system told us to wait for natural death in this world then, ghosted us completely. According to my research, pancreatic cancer progresses fast. Jason should have gone before me. I just didn't expect it to happen this fast. The moment the system vanished, Jason was already curled up, clutching his stomach. Think it forgot to activate the pain filter? Damn thing's gonna get a formal complaint from me when I get out. The pain was excruciating. Getting him to a hospital for morphine was now the top priority. While we were packing to leave, we ran into Kyle strutting around the villa shirtless, his body covered in faint scratch marks. He didn't even have the decency to act guilty. Jessica ran over to block him, frowning. "Why are you back?" Jason was in too much pain to argue. He turned to head for the bedroom to find his insurance card. But the room was a mess, men's and women's clothes strewn everywhere. Their photo was on the floor, shattered. Everything was ruined. Jason turned to Jessica. "Where's my insurance card?" "What do you need that for?" "Got cancer. Gotta check into the hospital." Jessica shrugged, completely unfazed. "I just got your test results from last week, and everything was fine." "Oh, so Kyle has asthma, and now you think I'm faking it to compete?" Kyle walked over, smug. "Dude, faking cancer now? That pale face of yours got foundation on it or what?" Jason punched him in the face and grinned. "Since you love makeup so much, here's your blush." Kyle was stunned, silent. Jessica shoved Jason aside and grabbed Kyle, no longer hiding the disgust in her eyes. "Get out of this house before we come back!" She left with Kyle. Jason downed a giant glass of water. "Damn! That almost killed me. No insurance. How you gonna pay for the hospital?" "Out of pocket. Money's just money. Can't take it with you anyway." After some thought, I took Jennifer off my block list and gave her a call. Her secretary picked up. "Miss Jennifer is currently with Mr. Kyle. Would you like to leave a message?" I almost laughed. This goddamn novel world. "Tell her to wire me $5 million. Or I'll show up at the company every day and make sure everyone knows Kyle's the homewrecker." Unlike Jason and Jessica, Jennifer and I were legally married. Half her assets were mine. Jason and I had already decided not to stay in this world. So what was there to be afraid of? No shoes to lose, right? There was a pause. Then she must have gone to check with Jennifer. A minute later, the secretary returned, her voice ice cold. "Miss Jennifer says that's acceptable. See? She had no bottom line when it came to the male lead." Jason and I ended up sharing a hospital room. Nothing to do, so we gamed together. We used to blow money on skins without blinking. Now, I was saving every dime for Jason's morphine. Months flew by. Jason's condition deteriorated faster than mine. He used to love listening to Jessica's concerts, but not anymore because lately, Kyle always sat front row. Jessica's fans shipped them openly. Even the nurses in our ward were fangirling. Every time Jessica and Kyle appeared together, the room echoed with shrieks. Jason's flare-ups became more frequent, and sometimes even morphine couldn't stop the pain. Beads of sweat as big as pearls streamed down his face. His arms were riddled with puncture marks like a pincushion. Watching him, I felt awful. Want to just jump off the roof instead? Jason groaned. "Screw you! If I die, who's gonna play games with you?" I was about to cry when the long-dead system suddenly came online. "I'm so sorry, host. I finally reconnected." "Hosts aren't supposed to feel pain. I'll transport you out right away." Jason, barely hanging on, lifted his head and moved his lips silently, probably trying to say, "Screw your entire family." The system babbled out. "Apologies. We'll compensate you with $30 million in cash, sweetie." Hearing that, Jason peacefully closed his eyes. In June, Jessica finished her nationwide tour and returned to the capital with Kyle. That day, the road near the hospital was packed. It was the route Jessica would take home. Sitting in her private van, she and Kyle kissed passionately as flashes from cameras lit up their faces. The live stream was so hot it crashed the platform multiple times and the comments flew by at 10,000 per second. Their fans were practically hugging from excitement. "Jessica Nine's Kyle forever! My girl finally caught her white knight who saved her! Just get married already." A reporter fought through the crowd and asked, "Are you and Mr. Kyle living together? Would you allow us to follow you home for an interview?" Normally, such invasive questions would be rejected, but as a villain in the novel, Jessica was obsessed with Kyle and seized every chance to tie her name to his. So, without hesitation, she said, "Yes." But then she remembered the house hadn't been cleaned. On the master bedroom floor still lay a shattered photo of her and Jason. She quickly called Jason. I picked up. "Jason, where are you?" I stared at her in the distance, clinging to Kyle. I said nothing. Jason's frail body lay in a stretcher in the back seat of my car. Jessica's tone turned impatient. I don't care where you are. Get home now and erase all traces of yourself. Jessica, turn around. She paused at the sound of my voice and instinctively looked back. Across a sea of people, she saw me sitting in the passenger seat of the hearse. I said, Jason died of pancreatic cancer just now, while you were kissing Kyle in that car. His body passed right by you. Jessica froze, still holding the phone, staring at me across the crowd. No matter how the reporters or Kyle questioned her, she didn't say a word. Then, like the world slowed into slow motion, Jessica suddenly jumped out of the van in front of countless cameras. She shoved through the sea of people, running toward us. Her face had gone pale. She was yelling something through tears, but the noise was too loud. I couldn't hear her. I tossed Jason's ring out the window and told the driver to go. Watching Jessica collapse to the ground, I remembered Jason's last words. He had a point. We're all haunted by the things we couldn't have when we were young. For her, it was Kyle. But it could have been Jason, too. That night, Jessica's name topped multiple trending searches. Jessica chases funeral car. Jessica injured. Jessica and Kyle fall out. She blew up my phone so much I had to yank out the SIM card. I turned to the system and asked, did Jason really get 30 million? System. Absolutely. What about me, sweetie? Since our side had the pain filter on properly, there won't be any compensation. 1,000 curses flew through my mind. At this point, I could only count on my brother to support me. Time passed quickly. I'd planned to pull the same trick on Jennifer, but her secretary guarded her like a hawk, always saying she was with Kyle. I lost all interest in messing with her. Jessica, though she went completely off the rails, she showed up at my place multiple times. Where did Jason go? I saw his checkup reports. He couldn't possibly have pancreatic cancer. Don't think you can trick me with your pathetic little schemes. I calmly tossed Jason's death certificate in her face. Look closely. His ID, date of death, 'cause it's all right there. Jessica, do you remember who got you the opportunity to release your first album when you just entered the industry? Jessica opened her mouth, but tears came out first. Watching her, I suddenly snapped. That was Jason, who drank himself sick to land a deal with the producer. Jessica, you really think you're all that now? Every time you leveled up in this industry, every time fans worshipped you like a goddess, Jason drank himself half to death. He endured humiliation, ended up in the hospital over and over. You seriously don't remember that? Sure, Jason got 30 million and left to live the good life, but he'd also destroyed his health for 3 straight years. For Jason, everything that happened here was real. Jessica was stunned, face as white as a sheet, tears streaming uncontrollably. Outside, Kyle was yelling, I want to see Jessica! That guy's dead! Why won't you let me through? I glanced coldly out the window and said my final line. Jason called you plenty of times. Every time it was you who picked up. Even the last call before he died. The truth, Jason never called. He was too high on that 30 million, already dreaming of quitting his job and spending it on supermodels. But we held grudges. Even in death, we weren't letting Kyle off easy. Sure enough, Jessica erupted and slapped Kyle across the face. Did you delete the call logs, you bastard? Kyle stood there dumbfounded. Outside, the skies opened up in a torrential downpour. In the distance, I saw Jennifer approaching. She didn't have an umbrella, her pace frantic. No wonder Kyle was the chosen male lead. Villains like us could never kill him. I couldn't help but laugh. I remember the first time I met Jennifer, the genius physics girl, accused of cheating on a competition exam, nearly ended her life that summer. I ran through the pouring rain to find her, grabbed the little knife in her hand, and said firmly, Jennifer, I believe you. I swear, wherever you go from now on, I'll always be there with you. That day, the knife accidentally grazed the inside of my arm, blood pouring out. Jennifer had kissed that scar countless times through tears in the middle of the night. You're my salvation. I watched that once depressed physics prodigy grow into a tech powerhouse in the capital, only for us to drift apart after the male lead appeared. The system asked, Host, your time's up too. Ready to exit this world? Want to say a few last words to Jennifer? I looked at the faint scar on my wrist and smiled. Forget it. She came to save the male lead. I'll just go. I picked a comfortable spot, lay down, and closed my eyes. In that moment, I thought about Jason's 30 million and hoped he'd keep his word and use it to take care of me. A few minutes later, Jennifer burst through the door and found nothing but my cold, lifeless body. Ding dong! Congratulations, host. Redemption complete. Returning to the real world. An exit point has been automatically generated. Have a pleasant life. I opened my eyes in the dark, ears assaulted by booming music. At the pool, Jason was raising a champagne bottle. One beautiful girl on each side, yelling at me excitedly. Luke Dawson, what the hell are you standing there for? Strip and jump in. People online often ask, if you suddenly had 30 million, how would you live? Jason and I were the perfect case study. Save half, blow half. We moved into a mansion, drove Porsches, and threw pool parties with supermodels on the regular. Just one thing, Jason never listened to music anymore. He boxed up every album from the artist he loved before getting sucked into the book and shoved them all into the basement. As he shut the door, he asked me, "Got anything to toss?" I said, "Already did." "What?" 5 years of college entrance exams, 3 years of mock tests, physics edition, also learning Olympiad math from scratch physics. I threw it all out right after my college entrance exam. Jason rolled his eyes and sat by the pool. The breeze was soft, and the distant sound of girls splashing in the water had never felt so vivid. Even after a whole year, those people and those memories would still sneak up on us. Jason and I both knew better than to talk about it. Jason sipped his watermelon juice, tilted his head, and waved to a girl across the pool. The system came to find me, actually. Said something about psychological healing services or whatever. I turned to look at him. He kept talking. They said it was all just a dream, like a murder mystery roleplay. Once the lights come on, it's over. But some things only you would understand. If it really happened, how can I pretend it didn't? You know what? I get nauseous now just looking at alcohol. Jason said it with a smile, but I knew he wasn't happy. He had scars on his heart that could be ripped open at any time, bleeding all over again. Just like me, I kept catching myself doing things out of habit, like how Jennifer doesn't like spicy food. So when the waiter asked about seasoning, I'd instinctively say no. Jason and I weren't the winners of that game, we were just the survivors. The music at the party surged again, snapping me out of my thoughts. The atmosphere came roaring back to life. Jason slammed down his glass. "I swear, I'm hitting on every girl here tonight." I said, "Count me in." And we both cannonballed into the pool. The music was so loud, we didn't hear that cursed system come back online. It fried the speakers and screamed in panic. Detected novel world male lead death. Target used unauthorized methods. Host will be forcibly recalled. Teleportation in 3 seconds. With pretty girls in our arms, Jason and I both went, "What the hell?" And then the world went dark. It was a chaotic night. Jason and I, still clinging to the girls, landed with a splash in a pitch-black swimming pool. The thrashing water lit up with blinding white lights, turning night into day. Jennifer was sitting at the edge, staring straight at me. A nearby staffer whispered, "Miss Jennifer, the experiment was a success. Should we shut down the portal?" Jennifer slowly leaned back into her lounge chair, crossing her long legs. "No need," she said, eyes fixed on the girl between Jason and me. Then coldly, "Destroy the machine completely and leave the rest of the time to me and Jessica." Before I could react, a group of men in black grabbed me and dragged me out of the pool. The moment Jason appeared, Jessica's bodyguards had him pinned to the ground. "I knew you weren't dead," Jessica said calmly, but her eyes were wild. She caressed Jason's neck, smiling. "You really fooled me good." But Jason looked utterly lost, strangely calm. "Where is this? Who are you?" He looked like a clueless idiot. "Let go of me. I don't know you. I want to go home." Jessica's smile froze. Her eyes welled up. "Don't play dumb. Jason, you're not allowed to treat me like this." But all she got back was a pair of cold, blank eyes. I stood by and nearly applauded. Damn, pretending to have amnesia? Brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? I swallowed hard and slowly turned to Jennifer. She smiled. "What, you don't remember me either, brother?" I closed my eyes in defeat. Shit. Both of us? Faking memory loss was too obvious. "Damn you, Jason." Jason and I had only spent a year in the real world, but in the mission world, 3 years had gone by. Superstar Jessica had vanished and re-emerged as Jennifer's business partner. Everything they'd worked on for the past 3 years had been to capture us, settle scores, balance debts. They separated us completely, probably thinking it would make escape impossible. And honestly, it worked. The system never managed to reach us again. Jennifer locked me up in her villa. Aside from work, she watched me constantly. "Don't worry, brother," she said. "This time, I only have you." That night, Jennifer leaned down to kiss the scar on my wrist, something she always did. But she froze. The scar was gone. The skin was smooth, unmarked. We stared at each other in the dark, both of us understanding immediately that something had changed. The things we never said 3 years ago, whether it was obsession or guilt, now sat between us like a cracked window pane. No matter how you break through, it always ends up ugly. But I said it anyway. "Jennifer, I don't want a runaway dog back. I'm scared it might have eaten shit outside." "It's disgusting." Just one line and it hit Jennifer like a sledgehammer. She said nothing for a long time. Truth be told, I had known Jennifer longer than Jason had known Jessica. When Jason first arrived, he was busy picking his target from a crowd of B-list starlets. I was already tailing Jennifer like a loyal maid, calling her sis every other sentence. Back then, Jennifer wasn't like this. She'd fall apart if I gave another girl an ice cream. She'd come running to confront me like the world had ended. At school, it was popular to give boys chocolate. Jennifer was accused of cheating in a competition and even had her scholarship revoked. To buy me a 500 yuan box of chocolates, she stood under the blazing sun handing out flyers for days, barely scraping together enough money. In the end, she didn't even dare write her name in the message inside the box. She said she knew I'd open it in front of our classmates, and since her reputation was bad, she didn't want to drag me down with her. Later, every time she fell into the mud, it was me pulling her up by the collar, telling her, "Jennifer, get up." Eventually, she stood at the very top, untouchable. She could buy out an entire chocolate shop on Valentine's Day, but she seemed to always forget to sign her name. At first, it was fear. Later, indifference. And then just unwillingness. I'm not sure when I first started noticing the distance between us. Maybe it was a year before Kyle came back, when Jennifer came home drunk and I found a tiny bite mark on her collarbone. Honestly, it wasn't surprising. She'd been at the top for so long, basking in the spotlight, seeing all the beauty the world had to offer. Even if she didn't want it, there'd always be people trying to give her the best of everything. My mind went blank in that moment. Disappointment and fury crashed over me like waves, shattering me, grinding me into dust. That night, I rejected her advances. I must have been too upset. I yelled at her. The panic in Jennifer's eyes wasn't fake, but she didn't explain. Like most women who make mistakes, she just wanted to sweep it under the rug after the pleasure, hoping the original partner wouldn't make a fuss, but I couldn't let it go. I laughed through my tears. "Jennifer, don't touch me!" I lost it that night, screaming in near hysteria, because I couldn't understand how could someone plead for forgiveness and still call it love. In pushing her away, I accidentally cut myself again. The blood sprayed, and maybe that snapped Jennifer back to the past. Her face turned pale in an instant. She clutched my wound, stammering through her sobs. "Just this once. Please, brother. I was drunk. I swear I'll change. Please, don't hurt yourself, okay?" Looking into Jennifer's guilt-ridden eyes, I believe she truly regretted it in that moment. But regret and desire don't contradict each other. She could do both at once. This incident became a thorn in my heart. Since she refused to divorce me, I'd mock her every now and then. Funny thing is, Jennifer's patience ran out sooner than most people's. One day, after one of my jabs, she slammed her chopsticks down. "Luke, do you find this fun?" At the time, my freshly cooked braised eggplant was still on the table. Her chopsticks flew into the bowl, splashing hot oil onto my face. It burned. I stared at her coldly, got up and dumped the eggplant in the trash. Jennifer snapped out of it and suddenly hugged me from behind. "I'm sorry, brother. I lost control. I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. Disgusting." People always let the weight of sunk costs drag them into hell. Hesitate to cut ties and you'll be smashed to pieces. From that point on, Jennifer's affection meter stalled at 99%. I was just one step away from staying in this world forever. The system even asked me, "Do you want to leave or stay, keep your progress, and enjoy the luxury here. I picked the second option, but not because I was attached to the wealth, it was because of Jason. Jason and I grew up in the orphanage together, inseparable since childhood. I didn't want to go back to a world where I was alone, so I just dragged out the progress and muddled through life. But my indifference toward Jennifer eventually pushed her to the edge. She started staying out all night, though she never touched another man again. Deep down, the world had already molded her into a successful woman. Being surrounded by admirers was the norm. White moonlights, first loves, childhood sweethearts all became trophies after fame and fortune. Maybe I mumbled something in my sleep once, because Jennifer learned everything about the system. She used that knowledge to justify her actions. Her detachment, just waiting for the real male lead to show up. She held my hand and said sincerely, "Brother, no one can fight fate, but don't worry, I'll never divorce you." So touching. Under the weight of destiny, she still gave her husband a marriage in name only. I should have been grateful. Then Kyle came back, clinging to her like a moth to a flame. I figured Jennifer had finally figured it out. She had everything others envied, more than enough to uphold her pride. Why keep compromising for me? In that final year, she tossed me aside like trash, embracing her glamorous new life. No one knew that 99% progress? I was the one who reset it. I was the one who gave up on redeeming Jennifer. After that night, Jennifer vanished. I kept hoping she'd lose patience with me again like she used to, and just let me go wherever I wanted. After all, this world's normal people weren't too bad. If I got a cut of our assets in the divorce, I could go somewhere new and live a decent life. But even after I was locked in her villa for 2 whole months, Jennifer never changed her mind. Every night, she came to see me. "Brother, I'm in so much pain. I don't know what I want anymore. I don't even know where I'm going." I suddenly remembered the system had once described Jennifer as a genius girl with depression. She had a unique understanding of the cosmos. Her mind was vast, profound, and as a result, she lacked the ability to navigate emotions. Her destined ending was to take her own life at the end of a lifelong pursuit of science. Two kind-hearted people never want to see a genius fall. Back then, I was one of them. But now, I just looked at her and sneered. "Jennifer, if you can't figure it out, then go die." 2 days later, someone came knocking. It was Jessica. She was visibly thinner, visibly broken, and her eyes carried a terrifying kind of calm. "Jennifer, tell me, how do I make someone regain their memories?" "Jason doesn't remember me at all. He doesn't love me anymore." That last part, she practically screamed. That day, Jennifer and Jessica stayed in the study the entire afternoon. I sat outside and heard the full story. Turns out, Jason had been doing just fine the last 2 months. When Jessica first brought him back, Jason said he had a phobia of strangers. He called Jessica a human trafficker and threatened suicide if she upset him. After pulling that stunt a few times, Jessica stopped pushing him. She let him use the phone, browse the internet, even order delivery. Only Jason didn't order food, he ordered models. Jason did exactly what Jessica used to do when sneaking around with Kyle, except he did it openly. More than once, Jessica came home to find Jason curled up with a gorgeous girl, sleeping soundly. He drove her insane. When she exploded, he just sat calmly on the couch, staring at her. Later, when Jessica cut off his phone, he smashed all their couple photos, said they annoyed him, said he didn't even know her, yet was being forced to live with her. Jessica bought matching wedding rings and frantically tried to shove one onto his finger. Jason tossed it into the trash. "I want to be a singer. When you get me into the industry, I'll marry you." People woo others with money and connections. You're not seriously trying to catch me empty-handed, are you? Amnesiac. Jason was sharp, tongued, and greedy. Jessica gritted her teeth and had to call in old favors, carving out a blood-soaked path for Jason in the cutthroat entertainment world. His debut album was a tonal disaster and even quoted a few Jay Cho lyrics as a tribute. I couldn't hear a lick of resemblance to Jay Cho. Still, 3 days after its release, Jason's album shot to the top of the charts. The comments section exploded with hate. "What kind of dumbass nepotism is this? Does he even know how bad he is? What the hell is this garbage? Get lost!" That album alone drew over 100,000 scathing comments. Behind the scenes, Jessica drank herself into a bleeding stomach lining just to please industry people. She woke up in the hospital the next day, not even a blanket over her. All she saw on her phone was a cold, emotionless thanks from Jason and a new Word doc titled Jason's Second Song. One winter years ago, Jason had been like this too. Drunk, collapsed in the freezing cold, hospitalized with full-body frostbite and internal bleeding. The hospital called Jessica over 10 times. But she was in a recording studio all night, determined to label her latest album under Kyle's name. She wanted it perfect, worthy of her white moonlight. Meanwhile, Jason lay in a snowbank just outside the bar, nearly freezing to death in negative 20-degree weather. Jason held a grudge. Since there was no going back, he doubled down and made her pay. After a few rounds of this, Jessica finally broke. She went to Jennifer.
Can you help Jason get his memory back?
Jason wasn't stupid. No way he'd let that happen. Time felt like someone had hit fast forward. Like in the stories where people summon spirits, what returns is never the lover they once knew. Jason and I had become pure spectators in this tale, watching the characters barrel toward their fates. This time, no one was dumb enough to try saving them. Jessica grew more obsessed by the day, trying to make Jason remember her. Jason's garbage albums kept coming, topping charts, soaking up hate all paid for with Jessica's blood. Jennifer had given up on changing my mind. Now, on countless nights, she just gripped my shoulders and murmured with a kind of madness. "Brother, wait for me. Once I build a time machine, we'll start over." Idiot. Think for a second. One night, I was woken by a familiar voice. The system was sobbing miserably. "Woo, host! I finally reconnected with you! I'm gonna get yelled at to death for losing you!" I jolted awake. Beside me, Jennifer seemed to sense something too. She opened her eyes and met my vacant stare. A trace of panic flickered in her voice. "Brother, why are you awake?" At that moment, a display panel floated into view. The system sniffled. "Woo, host! The system's here to take you back!" The tech team fixed the bug. "It'll never happen again, promise." I asked, "What about Jason? What did he say?" Because I asked this in front of Jennifer. Her face turned ghostly pale. "Who are you talking to? You must be dreaming. Close your eyes, okay? Just go back to sleep. I won't talk. I won't touch you. Please?" There was pleading in her voice, but I ignored her. The system said, "Jason just went back, right in front of Jessica. Before he left, he told her he never had amnesia. She's gone off the deep end. Host, and the one in front of you isn't far behind. No time to waste." The exit world button popped up before me. By now, Jennifer had thrown herself at me, crying and begging. "Luke, you can't leave! Do you hear me? We still have a chance. I won't let you go." I broke free from her grip and clicked exit world. The last thing I saw was Jennifer's pupils dilating in panic. No. When Jessica barged into Jennifer's villa, all she found was Jennifer sitting on the bed, staring blankly at the dip in the mattress. Luke had just left the spot where he slept was still warm. Jennifer touched the fading warmth, and before she could react, Jessica slammed her against the wall, screaming hysterically, "Didn't you say everything was fine? Why did he disappear?" After months apart, Jessica had grown thinner, with dark circles from too much smoking and drinking in the business world. She looked like a complete madwoman. Jennifer's eyes were like dead water. She shoved Jessica aside, turned, and began getting dressed. Jessica chased after her. "Where are you going?" Back to the past. Over the years, Jennifer had made 2 backup plans. One was to pull Luke in from another world. If that failed, she would return to the past. Now she knew what she truly wanted. If she could admit her mistakes, it wasn't too late. Outside, the wind howled and snow poured down. When Jennifer stormed into the lab, a technician ran up to her in panic. "Miss Jennifer, the results don't match!" A sharp glint appeared in Jennifer's eyes. "What do you mean, don't match? We've run this experiment hundreds, thousands of times. You're telling me it still doesn't work?" The technician burst into tears. "Miss Jennifer, everyone else succeeds, just not you and Miss Jessica. Because the 2 people you mentioned, they don't exist anymore. From the past to the future, they simply don't exist." That sentence hit Jennifer like a hammer, rattling her brain, ringing in her ears, blanking her vision. "What do you mean they don't exist?" In a flash, the technician standing before her seemed to reset. Eyes blank. She looked at the names Luke and Jason on the clipboard and asked, "Who are they?" And then, those two names vanished as if erased from existence. The technician no longer knew why she was even there. She numbly nodded at Jennifer, said hello, and walked away. Suddenly, Jennifer shoved her aside, rushed in, and activated the machine. Jessica, who arrived shortly after, was engulfed in white light and vanished along with Jennifer. They returned to a time long before they had met Luke and Jason, but this time, no one came to save them. The lives they relived were their original fates. Jennifer was falsely accused of cheating and attempted suicide by slitting her wrists, ending up in the hospital. In the years that followed, her path was filled with hardship. There was no one there to gently grab her collar on a rainy night and say, "Jennifer, get up." No one to hold her during her company's darkest hour and comfort her with, "No matter how this ends, I'm here with you." Her life was filled with misfortune and misery, dim and joyless. The road to the pinnacle of science was paved with thorns. Jessica, in her debut year, was crushed by the various powers of the entertainment industry, ground into the dirt. She struggled, rose and fell, always like someone drowning, unable to find direction, with no path forward or back. No one was willing to invest too much in a poor singer with no obvious talent. Her managers changed one after another, treating her like a hot potato. Eventually, Jessica snapped killing several people before hanging herself in a rental apartment barely 30 square meters in size. In her final moments, all those glamorous scenes from another life flashed before her eyes, real and illusory, only to dissolve into unreachable dreams. When the news of Jessica's death arrived, Jennifer barely reacted emotionally. If Jessica was obsessive, Jennifer at that point was even more so. She still couldn't let go. Only after surviving the darkness did Jennifer realize the value of light. As long as she lived, she would return to Luke. In the end, her wish came true in a strange, roundabout way. The system's safeguards were flawless, so even though Jennifer used every method available, all she could manage was to visit Luke's world as a soul, briefly, in her dying moments. She landed in a park filled with flowers. The afternoon sun filtered through her body and onto the children playing nearby. Then came the voice she had dreamed of day and night. "Next time, you're going to parent-teacher night." Jason and I just got roasted like hell. Jennifer whipped her head around, eyes locked on the man not far away. In the golden sunlight, an older, more mature Luke held an umbrella over the head of the girl beside him. The girl pouted, Okay. Next time, tell the teacher to call me." "Oh, and didn't you say the lounge chair was noisy?" "I had someone fix it. It's quiet now." Luke kissed her on the cheek. "Thanks, babe. I'm thinking of planting some flowers outside the window." The girl chimed in. Yeah, sunflowers, right?" In that instant, a wave of despair engulfed Jennifer. Luke, he was married? "Mommy, Daddy!" Their little girl ran toward them with muddy hands straight through Jennifer's body and leapt into Luke in the woman's arms. Her eyes, identical to Luke's, sparkled as she looked up. "Daddy, pick me up!" Luke's face was full of joy. He didn't mind the mud at all and lifted her up onto his shoulders. Every movement was exactly what Jennifer had imagined, so familiar, it felt like the future that should have belonged to her. The woman turned and looped her arm through Luke's. "Weren't we supposed to have dinner with Jason's family tonight?" Luke replied, "Yeah, he's getting chewed out by his wife again for dancing at the parent meeting." Well, that's the downside of marrying a superstar. His dance video's going viral tomorrow. Jennifer had traveled so far just to reach Luke. But in that moment, surrounded by the happy voices of his family, she couldn't take another step. Her soul grew impossibly heavy, unable to move. With the last of her strength, she cried out 2 desperate syllables, "Luke!" In the distance, Luke suddenly stopped and turned around, looking toward her. Jennifer's tears fell instantly. She froze in place, not daring to move, eyes wide in disbelief as she reached toward him. Maybe, just maybe, this was heaven giving her a second chance. Luke's wife and daughter stopped too. "Huh? What's wrong?" Luke laughed. "Your purse and phone. You'd yell at me again if I forgot them." He rushed back, picked up the woman's forgotten bag from the bench. As he turned, that familiar white shirt one Jennifer had pulled on so many times brushed past her fingertips. In the blink of an eye, He disappeared into the distance, along with the faint light that had reignited in Jennifer's heart after more than 20 years. The world around her fell silent. A breeze swept down from the vast sky, lifting Jennifer's soul. Darkness closed in. In the end, she became a kite, with its string cut, lost in the endless stars.